9th of December 2022. This skidmark is about the WEF. That organization gives me the creeps. That thing is evil and infested by Satanists. The worrying thing is that it is so well propagated into our governments. They're like a fucking virus that has infected everything. Actually, not a virus. It's like a bacterial skin infection. They're all over. And you touch your knee and you touch your elbow and it spreads everywhere. Everywhere in governments and in official bodies. If you look, you find that WEF there. The only place they are not is in Russia. I'm not so sure about China, but I'm very sure about Russia. I also know that China and Russia has banned Soros and all his NGOs from their countries, and China and Russia has issued warrants of arrest for Soros. So, the globalist plan of a new world order was put on a train to, let's call it, fuck off land by Putin, and he is not playing. Looks like he's got that train on remote control and he is speeding up because the track is getting dangerous ahead and he wants to make sure the thing derails. That is my opinion about this WEF. They were the major driving force behind the pestilence. They were the bliksems that instigated the governments to act ruthlessly, brutally and cruel towards the citizens. They designed every fucking step to reach their goal. Total destruction of the middle class and wealth transfer up to the super rich. That they did with the lockdowns. Your little bakery couldn't open, but the corporate chain store next door, they were open and made money like hell. But we were caught, sucker punched, and that is it. Fortunately, there's a fairly large proportion of society that resisted most of those pestilence shit. And sad for the WEF is that most of the resistors are among the most dangerous human beings on this planet. So if they want to come for a one-on-one fight, they better come well armed, because they're gonna get fucked up most probably. Let's start with this shit. The New Zealand Intelligence Service have issued booklets informing the public that if they suspect that friends or family members are opposed to government policies, including anti-pestilence restrictions, it is urgent to report them, as this is a sign that they are terrorists. That is from that Arden creature in New Zealand. Neck deep in with the WEF, and her personal wealth has grown by millions of dollars in the past 3 years. Listen to what she was now doing to the population. That fucking useless thing sitting up there in Canada, same shit. Then look at this image. Now look on the left. Look at that image there of the crucifix, of the crucifixion of Christ. See that there? And then on the right is a meeting of important people. And there sits that Annalena Dumbak, and apparently it was her instructions to remove that crucifix from that wall, where it's been standing apparently for hundreds of years. These things, they are fucking evil. Don't forget it. Look at this image, make sure you take note of it, and specifically of the wording, stopping private ownership. There is a blanket on news out of Brazil that I picked up on Twitter. Once again, there is a blanket over what's happening in Brazil. Update from Brazilian leaders. Military audit of the election will now be released Wednesday. Dozens of boxes had 0 Bolsonaro votes. Evidence will be presented of fraud. The nation is on the brink of social collapse unless the military has a strong presence. Now, once again, one thing that you must take in consideration, that Lula is not prominent on the news fronts either. So there's shit brewing in Brazil, and Lula is WEF. I've seen images of him with Schwab and so forth. And he also carried that fucking Satanist little sculpture. The Flemish government preparing to cancel World Economic Forum membership. We are a sovereign nation. The Flemish government is considering proposals to cancel its membership of the World Economic Forum due to the globalist organization's anti-democratic views. Well, I hope they do it, and that is not all fucking talk. And then we get this. A simple but working scheme. The WEF is worth more than $1 billion, is funded by major corporations which invest millions of dollars in it, as well as by various governments. Most of the world's political leaders and corporations are members. Schwab was very clever in creating an organization in which the richest, most powerful and most influential people in the world are paid huge sums to introduce themselves to each other and talk about how they can become even richer, more powerful and more influential. It seems obvious that the WEF members must follow their party line or they will be called off. No one wants to be excommunicated from the WEF or cut off from the contact with other rich and powerful people. It is safe to say that WEF members share a common philosophy that fits Schwab's worldview. That is what we know. And we better open our eyes. And it is going to be up to the ordinary public. The ordinary citizens will have to root these cretins out. The governments is not going to do it because the fucking governments are part of the cabal. Ordinary citizens will have to do it. And then this. WEF says billions who complied with the lockdown restrictions will also comply with social credit scheme. Listen to them. Look at those two evil fuckers in that image. That one on the right is a Satanist out and out. That is the bliksem that said the world is, there's 6 billion useless eaters on earth that has got no part in the progress of humanity. Fuck him. And then there's this. Well, this picture will go down in history titled The Worst and Weakest Leaders of the 21st Century that inflicted terrible hard times on their citizens. And there sits that fucking Macron and that wimp from Canada and that crazy geriatric from the US, and then you have the WEF governor of the UK. And the next one is just a reminder. This is the girl that reckoned there's only 44 Afrikaans-speaking people in South Africa. I don't know what she says now because the internet has been ruthless. And then we get this. WEF Klaus Schwab admits at the G20 summit that the globalization is over. US dominance is over. And the multipolar order BRICS Plus is next. Time for world peace and shared prosperity instead of endless wars and global theft. Now, what can I say? First of all, what the fuck did this man do at the G20? He's not part of any government. So why the fuck was he at the G20? Then, listen to this. Time for world peace and shared prosperity instead of endless wars and global theft. And who did all the fucking stealing? Who? This WEF cabal. They did it. Just in. MasterCard, Wells Fargo, Citigroup and others launch a 12-week experimental digital dollar pilot with the New York Fed. I don't know what we're going to do about it and how we're going to escape this shit, but this is not a good plan. And then there's this fucking cretin. This thing, I don't know why he is allowed to move around freely still. Bill Gates tells the G20 world leaders that death panels will soon be required. Take note, death panels. Unelected World Health Tsar Bill Gates has used his appearance at the G20 summit in Bali, Indonesia, to raise discussion about the death panels. According to Gates, death panels will be necessary in the near future in order to end the lives of sick and unwell people due to very, very high medical costs. How the fuck is that? And he sits on public stage and television and he says these things. And at the same time, I've seen and I have handled in some of my Skidmarks that euthanasia capsules that they are planning for Canada and for, I think, Scotland. The fact of the matter is, these guys say openly, we're going to wipe you guys out. And they just keep on doing it. And they're walking around freely, spreading their fucking shit news. How the hell did we come to this place? 80 years ago, these WEF cretins wouldn't have seen the sun go down. And then this is very fucking disturbing, and you must stop the video and look in detail from the next slide on, because I'm not going to read through everything. Klaus Schwab's empire. Please share. Now you must look at this, and here comes the first slide. Look at that. Ukraine, Turkey, India, China, Albania, Belarus, Cambodia, Canada, Serbia, Iceland, and the list just goes on. You can stop and find your country there. I believe that guy from Belarus has told them to fucking take a hike. And then look at this, there's more. The UK, like the UK is now, is the first WEF colony. It's got a WEF governor that works. Poland, Denmark, Spain, Romania, everywhere. And this one is for us here in South Africa. Look at that. Fuck! South Africa is there, Namibia is there, Senegal, Kenya, Rwanda, Togo, Uganda, Tanzania, Ghana, Somalia, Zimbabwe, Brazil, Argentina. Everybody is fucking there. And this is the WEF people. We need to be worried. And then you must look at this image. Now I've spoken about these things in many of my Skidmarks. New World Order agendas. Destroy the family, chip implants, mass infertility, and apparently they have already reached that one with the snakebite poison. Replace animal foods with synthetic meat. They're doing that as well. Bestiality. They're doing that as well. Ration food and resources. Already happening. Takeover farming. Already happening. Legalize pedophilia. Sexualize children. Already happening in America and in many European countries. But in Russia, you will fucking be in deep shit you try anything like that. The carbon tax scam, artificial wombs, I spoke about this in some Skidmarks. I am in two minds about that, because I can see the advantage of it. And then it's got hermaphrodites, cloning, a one world government, but Putin and Xi told them to take a fucking hike, and nobody in Arabia and Asia is gonna fall for that shit. One world new age religion. The Pope has already showed that he had meetings with Muslim leadership, and they are starting with that new church. Fuck that. Digital world currency, and I can understand why there, and I'm just not very happy that they use the Bitcoin logo, because Bitcoin is not their fucking thing. And then we get this. According to unconfirmed information, Klaus Schwab suffered his second heart attack. For fuck's sakes, and he survives it. And then we get to this. The Great Replacement is a top-down project. UN coins replacement migration agenda, citing low birth rates as justification for using mass migration to ethnically cleanse the native populations of Europe, North America, Russia, Japan and Korea. EU co-signs this idea. Let that sink in. And fuck, they not gonna get anywhere in Russia, that's for sure. 3. IMF, part of the UN, calls for these nations to open their borders to mass migration. World Bank, part of the UN, says that immigration is the best way to achieve the goals of the World Bank. 5. World Economic Forum, unofficial UN partner, says Europe needs migrants. 6. Rockefeller Foundation helped found UN, says immigration makes the US stronger, donates millions to ACLU, ADL and IRC, UN-linked organizations. 7. Council on Foreign Relations say that the problem with immigration is that we don't have enough. So does the Federal Reserve. George Soros invests hundreds of millions in promoting immigration. His think tank declares it a human right. Bloomberg, official WEF partner, shills for mass migration into Japan. People must wake up. These fucking guys are not playing. Look at the thousands of immigrants they're pushing into America. And I read a document that was apparently discussed at the UN, where they stated that once they've got 100 million immigrants into America, they will take over the US. And the US will then be amalgamated with Canada and Mexico under UN rule. Call me a conspiracy theorist if you want to. I don't care. Look at the fucking facts. Open your eyes. Look at those streams of people coming over your southern borders there in America. And then we have this from Driver 47. I would word this slightly differently. Imagine how much propaganda and brainwashing it took to make people believe those in the top picture were eco-terrorists, while those in the bottom were beneficial to our health. This is the inverted logic applied to everything these days. And if you look at that image, there's that couple sitting there in on that field. Imagine how much propaganda it took to convince the masses that these people are the problem and not these crooks like these. And there we have it, that fucking Gates, that Schwab, Satan, and then the angel of death. People, wake up. And then this post from Stand for Logic. 3 years ago, men couldn't get pregnant, pedophiles were wanted behind bars, doctors weren't paid more to kill you, Disney wasn't publicly advocating for groomers, segregation was still bad. Never forget how we got here. Very good advice, and people should pay attention. And then we get this guy. Once 8 billion people figure out that it is 2,000 people making the world a shit place, what do you think is going to happen? I've got the same question. And then we get to this fucking thing again. I haven't got other words for it. This thing is a Satanist. WEF advisor Yuval Harari. We just don't need the vast majority of the population in today's world. And he says it openly and they publish it. And for these racist keyboard warriors, IQ 70, 30% passers here in South Africa, that hammers the Afrikaners and hammers on apartheid and all that cock. Open your fucking eyes. This guy here has labeled you as a useless eater. You are earmarked for removal. And then there is this from the WEF. Control the food supply, control humanity, control the quality of food, control your health. Now, you can stop the video if you want to look at this and read everything in detail there. What our diets look like in 2030. Synthetic nutrients, seed oils, intermittent fasting, alternative proteins, micro livestock, in other words, fucking insects. Now I've got news for them. They can take all this shit in this picture and ram it up their whatchamacallit and put it in their back pocket and fuck off into the yonder, and when they reach the fence there's a gate that says no entry. Fuck off over that gate and then look at the horizon and fuck off into their distance, because there's no room in my life for these cretins. And thank you very much for your support. Please hit the like and the subscribe and share this thing. But most important, make sure you understand this WEF cretins wants to destroy you. You are the carbon they want to reduce. And on that happy note, have a great evening.